Alright, so we're going to be going over the Comox Trunks today by Thread Theory, and Travis loves them. They're his favorite. They're always the ones that he reaches for out of the drawer, so I really hope that you guys love them as much as he does. I did have to make some alterations for him, so just keep in mind that you should do a muslin, and then you can go from there. If I wouldn't have done a muslin, well, I've made about like 10 of these now, I feel like. So everyone is a learning curve. But yes, definitely you should make a muslin and then you can make the alterations to your pattern pieces and then cut the ones out after that and they will fit better. So the pattern pieces that you need, we have the gusset. So Travis wanted the leg of the trunks to go down about another 1.5 inches. And for this pattern, to increase the length of the trunks, you also need to increase the length of the gusset, since the gusset essentially sits like this, with this part being the thighs. So I extended this 1.5 inches, and then he wanted them a little bit more narrow between the front of his body and the back of his body. So I want to say I took 3/4 of an inch off of that. But again, it's just after you make the first one to kind of clip or pin out the areas that you're having troubles with and then alter the pattern pieces from there, and it works awesome. The first one was even wearable, so I would consider that a great success. If you're going to be doing the fly opening, you're going to need the binding. So 2 of these pieces. I'm going to be showing you guys how to do the fly opening as well as the Saks gusset, and then Travis prefers them with no fly opening, with just a solid front and a solid lining, so I will be showing you guys how to do that as well. For the fly opening, you need the part that has a little bit cut out, and then the solid one as well. So Travis didn't really love the width of the what is that? The width of the cup part, I guess you could call it. And so I ended up taking 1/2 inch off. And keep in mind, when you do decrease the width of the cup part to take it off of the straight edge, or the side that has the cutout, not off this curved edge. So the curved edge is what's actually going to create the room for your equipment to sit. And so if you decrease this curve, then there's going to be less room and everything's going to be closer to your body, and it's really just not going to be quite as comfortable. So make sure if you need to decrease the width of the cup part, that you're decreasing from the straight edge, not from the curved edge. I think I decreased mine, or for him, looks like it was about 1/2 inch. You can see this was the original pattern piece, and then this is the one that I did, and I decreased about 1/2 inch. So that is something to keep in mind. And then the back part, I didn't make any changes to this. He has a well-endowed booty, so I didn't need to make any alterations to that. If maybe your husband or yourself, the booty isn't as pronounced, then you can always clip that seam out and then transfer that to the pattern piece and adjust it from there. And then for the main pattern piece, I know that in the front there was a little bit extra. So the cup part is going to sit like right here, and then this essentially is like this, if that makes sense. So right on this seam, there was too much fabric for him. So I clipped it out, and then I took 1/2 inch off of this piece that I had just shown you, off of that straight side. And then I cut this, the front curve, also down to the next size line. So he measured in at a 34, I want to say, and then the front part is cut down to a 32. So that's also something that you can change. And then I increased the leg length. So his thighs are quite large, and he was finding that the leg length as it was would ride up a little bit, so we didn't want that. So I increased the leg length about 1.5 inches. You see here, I just added 1.5 inches, measuring all the way down and marking. 1.5 inches all the way down. And then I didn't want, since his legs are bigger, I didn't want this angle to be so severe. So I kind of moved it out a little bit and brought it a little bit more straight down. Because as you would lengthen this, naturally this angle is going to get more, it's going to narrow really quickly. So I wanted that to not be the case, and I brought it out a little bit. And then if you're wanting to do the Saks gusset, Stitch Upon a Time in their files for their boxer wear has the gusset available, the gusset pattern piece, and it just looks like this, and it's free. So their, let me see, their cut part is a solid piece, and then it has a dart in the middle. So it would look like this. And then the gusset essentially would work its way up the side, but it would be on the inside. So this piece is longer than the piece that we're going to be using for the Comox Trunks. So you need to lay this gusset over the top, depending on the size. So make sure that you measure and pick the right size. So you need to lay the gusset over the top of the cup piece and cut it down so that it fits. So I probably trimmed off about 1/2 inch, nothing too crazy. And then it totally worked awesome. And so on the inside of this piece, it can be finished with either picot or with a rolled hem using woolly nylon, so it has a little bit extra stretch. The Saks ones themselves use the woolly nylon with the rolled hem. If you have that on hand, that is a great option. If not, the picot works as well. It is a little bit thicker, so just depending what the person you're making them for prefers, totally go that route. I also decided to do binding at the bottom of the legs instead of a hem, just to keep them down, because as I said before, that they kind of ride up. So the binding I cut at, what are we at? I cut at 80%, so he is a 34, size 34, and I cut it 16 inches long by 1.25 inches wide, and then that comes down to about an 80% ratio. So you can just measure the finished leg circumference and then take 80% of that and add your seam allowance and then cut that by 1.25 inches. And if that doesn't make sense, just go ahead and pop something in the comments and I'll try to take some pictures for you guys. And then for the waistband, it calls for the wide elastic, and I prefer, or he prefers the suplex. So I cut the suplex at about an 88% of that opening. So again, once you finish the trunks, just measure the complete circumference of the opening on the top and then take 88% of that. And then I did it by 3.5 inches wide. So just should look like this. And this one was 29.5 inches long. You could also, I think, you could also measure around their waist and then probably subtract a couple of inches so that they stay up. And that should work totally fine too. It's been really nice being able to customize these for him. He has a pretty small waist, and then with his legs and his booty being so big, it's really hard to find things that will stay down but then also stay on his waist since it is pretty small. Let's see. What else here? I think that oh, and then the other thing I wanted to touch on was the opening that the fly front that this pattern piece creates. It has an opening that goes from right to left. So the point of, I learned from my wonderful husband, that the point is to be able to take yourself out of your underwear and go to the bathroom without actually having to take your underwear off. So if you are right hand dominant, you're going to want the outside cut out to be on the right hand side and the inside one to be on the left, so you can reach in, or they can, this is so silly, so that they can reach in and pull themselves out. If they're left hand dominant, then you're going to want the left hand side on the outside and then the right hand one on the inside, so again, that they can reach in from the left hand side. I think that is just about everything. I'm using the rayon spandex with the supplex waistband, and then you can also do the wide elastic if that's what you're partial to. I struggled a little bit to find some good wide plush elastic, so the supplex works great, and I think that is the most comfortable thing for him. So he says, I think that is everything for the pattern pieces. So if you guys have any questions, please pop them in the comments and I will try my best to answer them all. All right, so I wanted to go over the pattern pieces that you need for each of the options. So for the option that the pattern is drafted for, you're going to need 2 of the pouch pieces that have the cutouts and then 2 of the pouch pieces that do not have the cutouts, as well as all the other pieces. And then if you're wanting to do the binding for the legs, you're going to need 2 pieces for that. And if you're wanting to do bands, same thing, you'll need 2 pieces. And then if you just want a hem, then obviously you can forget about those. And then if you're going to be doing the option for no accessibility, then you're going to need 4 of the whole pieces that do not have the cutout. So 4 of these. I'm wearing black, that's not very helpful. So 4 of these. And then if you're wanting to do the inside sack, then you're going to be needing 4 of the whole pieces and then 2 of the small pieces from Stitch Upon a Time, and then 2 pieces of picot elastic, or you can do the rolled hem edge. So to measure my picot, I just measured the length that the flatter side of the sack piece is, and then I subtracted a 1/2 inch. So it just needs to be slightly stretched enough to kind of suck everything in. So nothing too crazy. Just a 1/2 inch is totally fine. All right, so for the first step, we're going to be doing the traditional way using the binding. So I'm using this Insane in the Membrane. Okay, so for the first way that we're going to do this, we're going to do it the traditional way. I changed my sweatshirt, so hopefully you guys can see the pattern pieces a little bit better. Wearing black and using black fabric probably wasn't the best thing. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your binding piece and you're going to press it in half. So I'm using that Insane in the Membrane to give these a little bit of a flare. We'll see what he thinks about them. Then you're going to pin them right sides together to the pouch piece that has the cutout taken out of it. And go ahead and clip that all the way down. My goodness, I seriously find thread everywhere. I find thread in my children's hair, I find thread in the shower, I find thread in my laundry. I don't know. I never thought that would be the case, but it is seriously everywhere. Okay, so we went ahead and we clipped that to the right side of the piece that has the cutout, and then you're just going to stitch along this curved seam. Okay, so we have that sewn. We have the serger seam. I use my serger. We have that right on the inside. Then I'm going to take the edge of that seam and line it up evenly with the other raw edge of the binding so that it's meeting right in the middle, and then just fold that binding down the center to create the double fold bias. You can use your cover stitch, you could use a twin needle, you could use a zigzag stitch. Any of that would totally work great. I just use a zigzag stitch. It is the easiest for me, and then I just pick a coordinating thread so you can't even really see it. So we'll go ahead and sew down that way, and we attach it from the front first so that it's easier to catch when we're sewing the other side. So make sure that you do it with right sides together on the first go around. And so once that is done, it's just going to look like this. And mine's a little bit less pronounced because I did take that 1/2 inch off of the flat side of the pouch piece. So now that you have your binding attached to both of those pouch pieces, you're going to trim off any of the excess you have on either the top or the side. So you can go ahead and cut those off. And then the next step is to put the whole pouch piece right sides together with the corresponding pouch piece that has the cutout on it. And so then you're going to clip it along the curve. And then this is what's going to create the depth in the pouch. So if you needed like a deeper pouch, you could increase this curve, or if you needed something that was a little bit more shallow, you could reduce the curve. So you're going to do that on both pieces, and the bias should be going opposite directions when you lay them down next to each other. So one should be on the left and then one should be on the right. So go ahead and sew those together now along that curved side. All right, so now I have the two pouch pieces put together for both of for the lining and then for the external one as well. So now it should just look like this, with the seam going up that curved part. Hopefully you can see that better. I used white thread, so hopefully it's noticeable. And then the same for the other one. So the wider part is the top, and then the more narrow part is the bottom. Now we're going to stack them on top of each other. So the wrong side of one of them is going to be facing the right side of the other. And then you're going to clip or pin along the top and the bottom. Something I was noticing with these that I would do next time if my husband preferred the ones that have this accessibility would be to do the little cutout on the same side for each one, so that when you turn them, you could do wrong sides together, so that that exposed seam that's going up the middle, it wouldn't be exposed. So that's something that you guys could think about doing as well. That's what I do when I do the solid ones. Both of the seams are in the middle, so there's no kind of like irritation or anything like that. After you've clipped the top and the bottom, you're just going to run a basting stitch along the top, and then along the bottom, and then up the sides, up just until you reach the cutout. So let me show you just 1 second. All right, so your basting stitch is just going to run right along the top right here, and then from here down, around, and then up to where the other cutout is, or the other accessibility point is. All right, so to prepare the Saks gusset, you're going to take the two pieces that you have already cut out, and then you're going to take your two pieces of plush elastic, and you're going to attach or line up the plush elastic flat edge with the straight edge of those pieces that you already cut out. Then you're going to have to stretch slightly to make it fit. All right, so mine is clipped on there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and sew probably a zigzag down the top of this plush elastic, flip it under, and then do the same thing on the top. And you're going to do that to both sides. All right, so the last option we're going to go over, which is Travis's preferred option, is no accessibility and an enclosed seam on the inside of the pouch. So you're going to clip, you need 4 of the pieces, and then you're going to clip with them right sides together along the curve. And then you'll sew them up along the curve, and it'll be completely enclosed with straight sides right here. All right, so once those two curves are sewn together, you're going to put them wrong sides together, and then there's not an exposed seam on the inside, which is awesome. And then you can go ahead and baste around the outside so that it stays in place. The next step is going to be attaching the pouch to the leg pieces. So with right sides together, you're going to match up the notches on the side of the pouch to the smaller of the curves on this main piece. And then just go ahead and clip all the way down, and then you're going to sew that together. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other main piece. All right, so we're going to sew that together, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, so now we have the pouch attached right here, and then we're now going to make it into a full circle. So we're going to attach the back booty coverage. You're again going to do right sides together, and then just clip it down, aligning the curve. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So it's going to be a full circle when you're all done with it. Now, if you are wanting to do the Saks hack, you can go ahead and do that now using the 4 pieces that are whole, so not the one with the accessibility cut out, the 4 pieces that are whole with the right sides or with the wrong sides together so that the seam is enclosed. You're going to take these 2 pieces that we added the elastic to, and the end that is smaller is the top. So you're going to line that up with the top and then clip it in place and work the way down, aligning the curve and then clipping it all into place. So Travis says that these are actually really good for like working out to create that separation from your body. So it would be something cool to try in circular knit as well, since it's the moisture wicking. That might be my next pair that I make. So now you have these attached, and you can kind of see how it creates like a little pocket. It's hard to tell since it's black, but it kind of creates a little bit of a pouch, so that things can just tuck right in there. Once those are together, you're going to attach them the same way that we attach the traditional one, and then the rest of putting it together is just the same as the traditional way. So you can go ahead and attach the pouch, treating it like one piece, and to both sides of the leg pieces, and then go ahead and work your way around to doing the back booty coverage piece. All right, so something I wanted to note before I forget is that if you're doing the Saks hack, you're going to want to make sure that you're attaching the main leg piece to the pouch piece with the wrong side of the leg facing the right side of the Saks hack piece, so that when the person is wearing them, that piece is on the inside, not the outside. So just double check that before you sew it. You don't want to have to seam rip it. So now we have these in a circle. We're going to attach the gusset. So you're going to take the 2 gusset pieces. That's not it. The 2 gusset pieces with the wrong sides together and line them up with the bottom of this circle. So the part that's connecting the bottom of the pouch to the legs. Go ahead and line those up with right sides together and then clip them. I usually do like 1 clip on either side and then find the center and clip it in the center as well. And then you're going to do the same thing on the back side. So align the other edge to the back side with right sides together. And then clip that all the way down. one in the center for good measure. All right, and then go ahead and sew those ones together. So now we have most all of them put together, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to do the binding. If you want to hem, this is the point where you can hem. If you wanted to do bands, you could do bands as well. I just do a single fold binding, so I take the short edges of this binding piece, sew them together, and then find the quarter points and serge around each of the leg holes, and then fold it under and top stitch. Super, super easy. And then for the waistband, you're going to, again, make it a circle. So sew it up the seam, find the quarter points of the top of this, and then stretch it evenly between each one. If you're doing the elastic, you're going to want a 3/8 of an inch overlap of the elastic and the top of the briefs. And I think that maybe that is everything. If you guys have any questions, this pattern can be tricky in the beginning, the first couple of times you do it. So if you have any questions, please just let me know and I will try my best to answer them. Or if you have any options that you guys think are cool, I would love to hear about it, and I would love to see your finished products. All right, thank you.